Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Apocalyptic Optimath channel, and I am your most unholy and unholy host, the Apocalyptic Optimath. So, I hope you guys are doing good. I hope you guys are doing great. Uh, man. So, sorry for my last rant. I had to get it out. It had to come out. I know it's not you guys' fault, and I wasn't. The only people I was really angry at is the people that keep harassing me. So don't necessarily, you can feel offended by my harsh language, which I am dutifully sorry about that. But don't feel offended by things that I said because it was grossly aimed at people that keep harassing me all the time. So it had to come out, man. And you never know because there are some internet trolls too, that are doing things in the back scene and things like that. So you never know who's listening. You never know who's listening. Just as that's the reason why I should uh have better language because you never know who's listening. But it goes both ways at the same time, which is now I'm falling in the realm of the spiritual, you know, but it kind of is. I mean, like, even though nobody on your channel is hating you or people are not doing videos about hating you, that doesn't mean that there's not somebody on the internet doing things because he hates me, like, things are crazy, man. So it's not like you're watching it and you feel offended, but the thing is, I'm talking to somebody that we both can't necessarily see, that's not in the room presently with us right now. Like, so it's crazy shit, man. Um and I feel like I had to do that sometimes. Like, I feel like I have to do that sometimes. I feel like it's necessary, as if like it's part of the things that I have to do. Like, I can't just be Dr. Feel Good all the time. Like, I have to like show some rage from time to time, because if I don't show rage, people are not gonna respect me. They're not gonna respect me, and yeah, man, like, and speaking of respect, but the message is still there. Like I said, don't ever let somebody disrespect you, man. Like, don't let people like violate your life. Not just your space. I mean, like, violating your space is something different. Is one thing, but violating somebody's entire life, that's just, that's crazy. That's insane. Like, that's insane, man. So, in this day and age, we are on a spiritual path, and there's a spiritual awakening. We are awakening spiritually, and we're discovering more and more things. And thanks to me, we're discovering even more and more things. So uh, I don't mean to sound, um, arrogant by saying thanks to me we're discovering even more and more things, but uh, like, see it for yourself too. Like, your existence helps other people. Like, you're like, some people feel like they're not worthy of something in particular, whatever that thing might be. and it could be anything. Worthiness means a lot of things to a lot of people. There's like levels of worthiness. There's perimeters, not levels, but perimeters. Like everybody has a perimeter of what is considered worthy of not worthy. So it's kind of like your existence. You have to remember that at the end of the day, like if you feel unworthy, you gotta understand that your existence helps somebody else, live their experience and their existence. Like, so it's probably not everybody, obviously. There's some people that are very unworthy. But most of the times, those people are the people that are in power. you know, they become unworthy with their evil acts. They become unworthy with their corrupt their corrupt mind state. But if they hadn't sold themselves to the proverbial devil, as some would say, uh, those people would probably have been worthy. But because of the choice they made, that makes them unworthy. Because worthiness is a choice. You either follow a path of worthiness or you don't. End the story. Like when you know you're signing a deal that's gonna make you unworthy, that's asking you to do things that will go against your convictions and even civilization's convictions, because at the end of the day you're going against civilization's convictions. That's not the ideal thing to do. Something that's gonna hurt you in a physical or spiritual sense is not good towards you, and it's not good towards other, especially if you put them in that position also. Well, let's say your convictions and your spiritual state is untouched, but yet the deal you sign is going to destroy other people's convictions and their spiritual sense. So that's not fair, that's not good either. That doesn't, so thereby that sense you become unworthy, even though you're like, you're still the same person, you just. So it kind of, that's kind of bad. That's the part that's bad. That's where you should worry when you're at that level. That's when you should be worried. But when you're not on that level, let's say you're a regular person, that you're just walking around, and you haven't been to that level yet, where they ask you to do things. You can't really be like, oh well, I'm unworthy. No, because you're still living the experience. You're still living life. Like, you can't, you didn't skip to the end. Basically, that's what I'm saying. You compare yourself to people that skip to the end. Like, you didn't skip to the end. So how can you tell yourself you're unworthy if you didn't skip to the end yet? Like, you're not even at the end yet. Like, what? How? What? On what basis? Like, on what basis are you telling yourself this? Like, where exactly? Like, you're not finished yet. You're not done. You're not dead. You're not dead. Because some people, if you're busy living the experience, people busy living the experience, they're not asking themselves if they're worthy or not, because they're busy living the experience. You know, maybe maybe sometimes there's a situation that happens that makes them reflect upon themselves and ask themselves the question that, if, okay, this situation makes me worthy, like, but at the end of the day, he's like deciding on how he's about to approach something. You know, it's only after the fact that he's gonna know if he was worthy or not. So, and here we're falling in the lines of death. You know, when it comes to dying, you know, only then you're gonna know, like, because you were doing the thing. You know, you were living life. You know, like you were experiencing with life, and so on and so on. You were discovering yourself. So, you know, for a person like that, it's only at the end that people are even gonna acknowledge if he was worthy or not, reflecting on how he moved, how he did things, you know, how he, things like that, you know. So this is probably one of the main reasons why the Illuminati, uh, or any kind of institution, likes to slander. You know, slander is dangerous. If people listen to slander and they believe rumors and things like that, uh, you know, that's killing the person's character. You know, you're killing the person's character, you're killing the person's being, you're killing this person's soul, you know. So that's why it's still dangerous, you know, when they do those things. That's why it's still a dangerous thing. That's why you shouldn't let somebody slander you. You know, you shouldn't let somebody slander you, because especially when we're talking on a level where it's like an entire organization, you know, like an entire organization that's doing it. Like, that's not right, whether it's a street gang or a government agency. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you shouldn't accept slander. If it's not true, it's not slander. Like, you know, if it's true, it's not slander, you know. So when you are being slandered, you automatically know it. You know, you automatically know it, and you should do something about it. You should do something about it. You shouldn't let it, you know, even if you're not a violent person, you're a pacifist or something along those lines. You know, if you're a pacifist, there's other means to deal with it, like magic. You know, you can cast a spell. You can curse the person. You can cast a spell, curse the person. You can do more than that. You know, you can, shift the paradigm. You can cause a paradigm shift. You know, which is what I do. You know, I cause paradigm shifts. You know, like it's I shift between dimensions. You know, I shift between dimensions. So you can do that too if you're a pacifist. You know, you can just flip the script. You know, you can flip the script. You can judo flip it. You know, you can make the person look like a fool. Basically, that's what I'm saying. You can make the person look like a fool, man. Like, and that's enough for people to realize. It's supposed to be enough, because like I said, it's dangerous when they do it, because there's also the fact that they control people, right? They have because this is reality, right? I'm talking about reality. I'm not talking about hypothetical movie script type shit. Like, I'm talking about reality here, and in reality they have people's minds. You know, they have their minds. So, it's, even if you flip the script sometimes, depending on where you are, depending on what kind of person, what quality of person that surrounds you, you know, it's still dangerous. It's still dangerous, because then you're in a isolation chamber. You're kind of like in this echo chamber where everybody agrees with the plan, regardless if the plan is good or not. And that's bad too. But that's why shifting dimension is a better way of dealing with these kind of situations. you still maintain making the person look like a fool, because at the end of the day, you're never alone, man. Like, you're never alone. There's people behind people behind people. Like, there's always a boss behind the boss. That's how the universe works. There's always a boss behind the boss, all the time. Like, it's infinite. There's infinite bosses. There's an infinity of bosses, bro. That's how the world works. That's the only way that the universe functions. Is that there's a boss behind the boss, all the time. It never stops. It's like you'll never find the boss of the boss. Like, because when you get to that guy, he's gonna tell you this boss too, and then like like if you get to that guy, he's gonna tell you I'm not the boss, and then you get to that boss, and then he's gonna tell you I'm not the boss, like, and you get to that boss, and he's gonna tell you there's not like, so you're never alone. And what that means is, like, because there's many bosses of many things. One person's the boss of this thing, this person is the boss of that thing. Like, you're the boss, but there's people that are more boss than you, though. And then there's people that are more boss, and there's those people. And then there's those people. There's people that the boss is more than those people. Like, it never fucking ends. Like, that's the grandioseness of what we call reality. So it's quite interesting. We live in a very mysterious reality. And mysticism shows you these things. You live above human concepts. You live above. It's living above human concepts. It's like, you're seeing reality for what it actually is. You're seeing yourself for who you actually are. And that's the difference between being a follower and being a leader. No pun intended, no offense meant. But like, when I'm talking about follower, I mean it in the most insulting way possible. Like, like just like somebody that just a sheep, basically, like, a sheep person, a sheep that's asleep, basically. I just woke up, me myself, I ain't gonna lie. Not too long ago, decided to make this video. By the way, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to my channel, leave a like, subscribe, leave a like, comment. If you have any comment to add to these videos that I make, thank you. So, you're living this existence, and nobody is actually defenseless, and nobody is like alone, really alone. You're gonna it's all about, like, confidence and conviction, and also knowledge. You gotta have knowledge, because you can't just a person. That's the beauty of magic. That's what gives us an advantage, is that a person that's just confident is gonna fail, because he's just confident. Like, when he's gonna meet the boss of the boss of the boss, because he's confident, so he went through a couple people, right? But one of those bosses is going to be his end. And what magic is, it's kind of like, it gives you the opportunity to go further than the guy that was just confident, because you're doing more. You're doing more. You're doing something more. You're asking reality to do your bidding. So now it's like, confidence is powerful. Confidence is powerful, and it has the ability to do the same. It has the ability to do the same. I'm not saying Confident people are limited. I mean, confident people are strong. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. But I don't need to be confident. I do magic. Now I do need to be confident. But that's the thing about magic is that magic demands confidence. Magic demands having no doubt about your abilities, like zero. Like, you know what I mean? Like nothing. Like you don't have the right. Like it's unacceptable. You know what I mean? Like if you magic is so severe about your confidence level that it's kind of like if you, I shit you not, it's not a joke. If you have the audacity to do a ritual and you're not confident, the ritual is gonna bounce. It's gonna punish you. It's gonna bounce back at you. Because you're not confident. Because you don't believe in yourself. Like it's that crazy. It's nuts. If you think about it, it's like, yo, bruh, like, but then, and now you're asking yourself, well, how do you fight another witch? Well, now it becomes a chess battle. Now it becomes dangerous. It becomes dangerous because now you're playing chess. You're not playing checkers. Now you're playing chess, you're not playing checkers. So you have to, if you're gonna battle another witch, you have to be powerful. You got to be powerful to fight another witch because witches are insanely strong. Like it's Now let's face facts. Let's just be real for a second. Like let's just not press on words. Like let's it's like witches are powerful. Like they can do things. And they don't need to touch you. Like it's just like shit happens. You fucking slam your car into a fucking tree, bro. Like the guy does a ritual. And then dude dies choking on a glass of water. Like type of shit. You're confident. That's different than being confident going at somebody's house, whooping his ass and shit, which is dope. No lie. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's different because you physically you physically had to do something. But a witch doesn't necessarily need to get physical, so that gives you an extra. Like you got more options. Basically, that's what I'm saying. You got more options, and because you have an extra added option, you can go further than like because you're not exhausting yourself physically. You're not so you can do a little bit more. And that's gonna create fear. That's gonna create fear at the end of the day because the person is gonna be like, oh shit, this motherfucker. Part of my language. But like, so that creates an aura of fear around you. So now people respect you. People know not to do shit. And this is the same thing for the dude that's gonna bust in your house, just beat the shit out of you. Like like it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So that's why I'm saying like confident people are strong. They're just as powerful. But I got an extra, what I mean? Like I got an advantage. Like it's not just, I'm not just confident, but I can change reality easier than you can. So therefore, because of that, by default, I can do a little bit more things than you can do. Like so, because I'm not limited by space and time. I don't have to move. I don't have to go anywhere. I can just like wham. Like ta-da, like abracadabra, like so it's not like we went from worthiness to fucking magic, black magic here, but um, like black magic is and worthiness is not, you can't ask yourself if you're worthy while you're alive, unless you made some really shady decisions in your life, like some really, like some bad deals. You can't really, like, nobody like can be like, oh yeah, I'm not worthy of this. No, absolutely, like, like, like there's no, like, nah, there's no, nah, like, not yet, like, unless you, like, you just like break hearts and shit. Like, let's say like you're like a womanizer, right? Like, let's say you're a womanizer, like, and then you come across something like immaculate, like incredible, like, unless you get to that point, you can't really ask yourself if you're worthy or not. Like, what's the point? Like, what's the purpose of asking yourself that? Like, what's the, like, what's the, like, there's no point into asking yourself that. There's no actual point into asking yourself that. You just do things, and if life decides, because gravity is a fourth dimension. Gravity is a fourth dimension. Gravity is a fourth dimension. We spoke about this in one of my recent videos before my series of dating videos that I just did. Not on purpose. It just felt like we needed a break from information overload, and you know so you got this thing where, like, you can't really ask yourself if you're worthy before you get to that point, because, like I said, everything is coming at you. you know Everything is coming at you all the time. That's gravity. That everything is coming at you all the time. So, maybe if you're lucky, and if that's what you want in your life, but maybe if you're lucky and if that's what you want in your life, you're gonna get an opportunity. There's gonna be a chance, a situation that's gonna happen, that then you're gonna be like, okay, is this worthiness? Is this like, is this the thing? Like, this, like, but until then, you can't really know if that is gonna be a thing in your life, and it doesn't really matter if it's not. To be quite honest, that's not the point. The point is not to be worthy. That's not the point of life. That's just something that happens to some people sometimes. Not really. Like, that's what it is. It's not like, who cares? Like you might die unworthy. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad person. You might die unworthy, but it doesn't make you a bad person. It's just and that would make you worthy, because you didn't get an opportunity to show your worth, right? Like, you didn't get an opportunity to show your worth, so it's kind of like, if you die before you get the chance to even be worthy, that makes you worthy by consequence. you know, by default, because you got, like, that, the fact that you faced, like, death at an impromptu moment kind of makes you worthy. Like, it makes you worthy. Like, that was your, dying was your thing. That dying was your thing. You were like this guy that fucking dies. Like, it's kind of cool if you think about it. Like, it's kind of cool if you think about it. Like, you live death. You live beyond death. Like, you live death. You live beyond death. Like, you face death. Like, you're dead. You know, like you're living the other side. You know, and it wasn't your choice. It's just you got took. You got took. Like and that's it, and that's all. So that would make you worthy because it's a scary thing to think about for us living. To just like just disappear like that, like unalive, being deleted from the matrix like that. Like that's a scary thing. It's a scary process. That's the thing that would make you worthy. So you don't really want to be worthy at the end of the day because you don't want to die. Like because that would be it's a roll of the dice. It's a being worthy is a roll of the dice. It's you're trying things. You're trying things, and you don't have to die to be worthy either. You don't have to just doing your job. Like somebody that's really good at their job is gonna be considered a worthy person at the end of the day. Like a really good lawyer or a really good, like, I don't know, police officer or thing like that. Those things make you worthy too. As banal as it seems, even the person that works in McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like, let's say he worked in McDonald's for like 35 fucking years. Been doing a great job and stuff like that. Like, he was a worthy person, man. Like at the end of the day, he did his job. He did his job well. Like, so it is what it is, man. Like, so it doesn't take a lot, and at the same time, it doesn't really matter. You're worthy for what? That's just the thing that happens. There's no reason to be worthy. There's no real reason to be worthy. It's a choice. It's something that you feel like you want to be. But there's no point into asking yourself if you are or if you aren't, because you're living the experience. And as long as you're living the experience, you're kind of worthy. And you become unworthy, you lose that worthiness once you compromise yourself on specific aspects, specific things, things that that's gonna hurt other people in some way, shape, or form. Hurting other people makes you unworthy, man. Depending on if you're the victim or the victimizer. People that victimize other people are unworthy. So, and like I said, there's always, this is gonna sound bad, but everything that has always been. So even in the world of the corrupt, there might be some worthy people in there too. Like, depending on how they move, which is rare, but there could be some people out there that are corrupt, but they have a certain way of moving within that corruption, you know, uh, that kind of makes them worthy, you know. So basically, it's not a good question to ask yourself when you're young, or and you're still figuring out things and still seeing things, or even if you're like in this thing called the chosen ones and stuff, and 144,000 blah blah blah, and because it's really popular, there's a lot of people that consider themselves chosen ones, and they have the recollections they have the stigmata of chosen ones. Like I told you before, I was talking about this guy I met not too long ago called Chicky. and he was talking about how he could manipulate things that the things that he sees, you know. So we're really going into X-Men, you know, but this is the beginning of X-Men. So there's the X-Men are not there yet. The actual X-Men are not there yet, but in a couple of years they will be. You know, there's gonna be an actual X-Men team, like, you know, because we're mutants and we're mutating. We're mutating, man. Because a couple of years ago, we like this wasn't this these things was only exclusive to witches, you know. And regardless if this mutation is actually a result of witchcraft, it's still a transmutation. You know, the only difference is we would call it a transmutation, but it's still a mutation because people accepted these uh gnosis and capabilities of perceiving life in a different way, where things that are usually unperceivable are now perceivable in some way, shape, or form, depending on your mindset and how you actually see things. So it's quite amazing when you think about it. So we're mutating, and this is the beginning because this mutation is being faced with, you know, actual political forces that have agendas, and they have actually deemed that we were dangerous people. And you know, so they, whether we're talking about like Christians that feel persecuted, there has even been reports, and there's a mayor right now that's going crazy. There's a senator that's going crazy with these reports, and he actually found proof that, you know, government agencies, government intelligent agencies are actually, uh, you know, keeping tabs on religious prospects, you know. um it's interesting, you know. It's an interesting thing, and the funny part is a lot of people get labeled crazy even today, but we were saying these things before anybody even looked up these things, you know. And when people started to look up these things, that's when people started to figure out that there was something fishy going on, you know. When we're talking about QAnon was one of those things where we were talking about these things before that, and then QAnon started to exist, and they were talking about those things, and they could see, basically, they could see the spiritual battle that was going on, and Donald Trump is part of QAnon, if you guys remember. You know, he's the one that started that QAnon shit, you know, and people hate him today, and they see him as a evil person, even though he was backing QAnon, whatever QAnon was, because it wasn't really clear what QAnon really is or was. You know, the only thing we really know about QAnon is that apparently it started as a 4chan channel on the internet. You know, and that's pretty much it. You know, so, and then it evolved into this cluster of uh, people talking about different things that they believe were being covered up by not necessarily the United States government of America, but specific groups that work within the government and specific individuals also. Mm. And then we got the whole targeted individual community. You know, they were speaking about things, these same things that this senator now, and they were deemed crazy. And now we have this senator that every week, every month or so, he's asking questions about the immigrations and uh, the kids that disappeared at the border. He asked questions about that and how come we basically found the people that was responsible for this debacle and proceeded to question them, you know, regardless of if it was a which and they were all government officials, obviously working within the government, like the immigration and intelligence agencies, like the FBI and things like that. So, um, yeah, crazy shit. So now people are taking things more and more seriously. So this is causing a mutation. Even this senator that's doing this thing is mutating as he's doing that. Because now you've accepted a system of belief that you have not had not known existed, and now it's implemented into your curriculum. You're going through a changing process. You will never see life the same way again. You know, so it's not hard to believe that this mutation, as all mutation, is evolution. So it'll only get stronger and stronger. So um, there are going to be people that are going to develop specific abilities. You know, they're gonna develop specific abilities, and it's gonna be widespread. And I think, there's gonna be more mutants than in the X-Men show. You know, I think regular humans will be a thing of the past. You know, this alleged regular human being that we so-called talk about, you know, whatever that means at the end of the day. So regular humans are gonna like just disappear. We're going to evolve, and we're gonna keep evolving. And AI is going to be a thing too, because intelligence is an ability, and it will evolve, it will mutate. And because we're dipping our hands in things that we don't know of, this is the reason why it's causing mutations. You know, because we're changing our DNA, we're changing our mindset, we're changing our entire dimension as we know it on a steady pace. You know, maybe it could go faster. I don't know. You know, maybe I'm underestimating the human intelligence, but from what I'm seeing right now, I feel like it's a slow pace, or at least a steady pace. You know, um, but I do think, regardless, that we're going to have, because there's going to be hate because of this. You know, there's going to be the people that don't have powers that's going to hate the people that have powers. You know, or something like that. There's going to be some form of hate. And not only, I don't think that's true. There's going to be that, but a very little of it. I think mostly the biggest problem that we're going to have is going to be like these government officials that probably already know these specific individuals, not government officials, pardon my language, that's not what I meant to say, but powerful individuals that work within society are probably aware of this, and they don't want it to happen. You know, I think that's what we're going to face. You know, that's what the X-Men are going to fight in the future. They're going to fight these people that are trying to uh, you know, make sure humanity does not mutate when it's actually a natural process, out of wanting to maintain power over people and their freedom. Like Aleister Crowley once said, nobody should be a slave unless you want to. Anton LaVey, sorry. Anton LaVey said this. He said nobody should be a slave unless they want to be. And I believe that too. Nobody should be a slave unless they want to be, man. So interesting life that we're living in today, man. We're mutating, we're developing powers, we're developing strength. It's not the time to ask yourself if you're worthy right now. Just enjoy the process. Enjoy the experience that you're living. Like take it, absorb, just suck it up. Suck everything up, like like take all of it in. Because these, it's like, don't look forward. Don't look forward. Like, in a sense, you can look forward a little bit because you have, like, time manipulation abilities. You can look forward a little bit, but don't base your worthiness on your current time period. Because it's not about time. Worthiness is not about a time period. It's not about when or should, or it's just a thing that happens. It's a thing that happens. So, anyways, I'm gonna stop the video right there. Subscribe to my channel if you like what you hear. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm gonna go try and take care of myself here a little bit, and see you guys on the next video. Peace out. Have a good one.